backyard live broadcast and you're promoting yourself as analytics.
Okay.
If and when it comes to sharing, so you've got an analytics window open. You can come down here, you can say that you want to share your screen. You say, great, do you want to share a Chrome tab, any window,
I will,
screen?
no doubt, screw that up. Yeah, I'm just being honest.
And
We're all learning this.
Honestly, I'd rather practice with it. Maybe we implement that next
I
week.
just say, when he gets done with that, he needs to come up here and take a look at this my computer.
Yeah,
If you wanted to, that's all the more.
okay.
To this, and give me a second, I'm gonna change one thing, because that's just way too big.
I'm not old enough to be as technologically deficient as I am.
If you did decide you wanted to share a window, an entire screen, the item has to be open. We're going to radio search, so if you say, hey, I want to share the analytics screen, you hit share, people are seeing it.
Okay.
So if you want to do that, I can. If you want to hold off for another time, that's fine.
Let's hold on.
Okay. At any rate, you are live, you have analytics up.
All right, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're only 20 minutes.
So let's, if you could. Do you want me to wait? Okay.
I don't have a clue what it is.
So let's start with the treasurer's budget. As I mentioned in that email I sent, what I did was kind of run through a first pass for those departments I mentioned to look at trimming back the insurance figures based on what we ended up with versus what the insurance company told us initially back over the summertime. We went from they told us a 17% increase to 20%, ended up being more like 8%. And the problem we have is that we have departments who have based not only their insurance requests on the 20% figure, but also their salaries to compensate for the jump in insurance. So that's just got to be communicated. And so what I did was kind of first pass through several of the departments to trim back those insurance figures. These are what I call very low-hanging fruit. And then to look at some other opportunities just based on the last 3 years worth of spending in individual lines. And so that's what I have for you today for the treasurer, prosecutor, recorder, board of elections, clerk of courts. Of course, the auditor's office, but I've already gone ahead and adjusted, but I'll show you what I've done so you see it. If you have any questions. And I've also done it for the sheriff's office. If you want to hold off on the sheriff's office and make that part of a comprehensive conversation in a few weeks, of course, we can do that. But really all I have for the sheriff for today, if you want to, is that insurance.
Well, that's
Okay.
fine, but I want to see what kind of carryover.
I tried
that's
one.
on line with them.
We
So,
can-
go back and see what that is.
Well, let's do everything except the sheriff. We'll get to the sheriff and decide what you would like to do for today, if anything. And then I think we ought to have a conversation about some of the money that we've got saved up in terms of the opportunities you guys want to go forward with next year's courthouse renovation and any other plans. So, let's start with the treasurer. You look at the 138 request that he put in, that's based on that prior guidance. Just conservatively, I'm recommending that we trim that back to 132. I see no reason based on the prior history why we wouldn't do that.
Where you at?
138 is the request.
Highlight that stuff.
Your question is 130.
I'm having trouble seeing it.
It's this line here, it's the group insurance line.
So that, okay.
This year's budget started out at 137. He cut it back to 122 at one point this year because he didn't have a need for it. The request based on guidance earlier in the year for 2025 was 138. I'm saying let's cut that back to 132. That's still going to provide what he needs.
That's based on last year, or this year's allocation for an increase of, you're using 8%?
I'm just trimming it back based on what we look at because there are gonna be variables. You're gonna have people who go from single to family insurance. You could have employees who don't take the insurance. I mean, if you really wanted to cut it back, realistically, you could probably cut it back to where he is now, 122, and just keep it flat. But I think it's probably a good idea to provide at least a little bit of a cushion for those variables if somebody's family circumstances have changed or something like that.
How do you predict that?
What's that?
How do you predict that?
Well, you can't. I mean, that's my point. There's no way to predict that. And so we've got to have at least some kind of cushion, unless you want to put yourself in a position of having to make appropriation increases throughout the year next year.
I think that's the most accurate way to handle it. Because we can't predict the future and try and guess at who's going to change coverage.
Well, you can certainly do that. I mean, if that's the case, you're going to cut the insurance line. If you base it on the 8%,
And the last number I got was 6.4%.
well, you're also going to have the vision and dental. I mean, that all comes.
That's why she said 17% for the healthcare, and then plus another 3% on dental and vision, and that's where we end up with the 20.
Right. But if Jack, if that's the approach you'd like to take with it, you
I think
apply.
that gets us closer to reality.
Okay. So if that's the case, the figure in that line for next year would be 131,769. I recommended 132, but if you want to go to the dollar, I'm never going to think that's a bad idea. But like I said, just keep in mind, it puts you, the commissioners, in the position several times probably throughout the year of having to look at
And
appropriations.
transfer from one place, yeah.
But I don't think that's a bad thing because it keeps you guys in control. Okay, I love that if you want to do that.
Yeah, I want to deal with reality in the budget. There's too much fluff in it.
Okay,
Keep in mind both the group insurance and PERS have been paid for the year, so those actual numbers are where they'll flesh out at the end of the year.
They're actual numbers. Okay.
you're saying we should use that 106 figure as a baseline?
Yeah, that's the full year figure at this point. We can verify that if you want to click on the Chrome. Do you have VIP yet?
You know what, I did.
Okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay, well, if that's the case, we can cut further.
Do you have, when's your cutoff date for freezing the accounts? Is that 2 weeks before the end of the year?
Your 17th will basically be, I believe that's a Wednesday, yeah.
And that way we'll know what's appropriated and what's spent.
Well, we'll know what's spent. We'll still be kind of working out the encumbrances. Those are kind of take a little bit longer in the process, but yeah, we've cut off all the payments. But the POs, they're still trying to clean those up. So we'll be into that last week of, I guess, kind of the week of Christmas.
Is it possible to have a monthly review after the months are closed out? Up here,
I see no reason why not.
department?
If you guys want to do that, you can absolutely do that.
I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
You-
It's your meeting. You guys can do whatever you want. It's your meeting. If you tell the department heads, hey, I'd like to see you up here once a month, they show up or they don't.
Maybe not necessarily, because I don't want to take up people's time, but I at least want a report that tells me how they did versus what we thought they would do.
So I think that would be just a matter of you guys asking each of the department heads, hey, get this to us and we're going to review it at our meeting.
You can't do it from the auditor's office.
Well, so we can provide a report, but if you have follow-up questions, I can't answer the
I
prosecutor.
understand. That's when we would engage the department, or the elected official.
Yeah, we could do that. See no reason why not. If
I
what
think-
you
I
want
think-
is,
In times of change, that just guides the ship a little more for me.
yeah,
And we can do more things with that. And we can stop from doing things that we can't afford to do.
Yeah.
And we need to know that. With the change that's coming, we need to know that on a monthly basis. And seasonality is going to be tough.
Yeah.
To predict because, things happen in the summer to the sheriff's office where they're out and about more often than they are in the winter. They're just natural ups and downs of the cycle. It's not a consistent 12 equal spots, but that's where we start and find that out. You know, and that's one thing we did with the city, but we became a whole lot better at budgeting. Going through these exercises that were, with the department heads, they were a pain in the butt, but they saw the sense in them as we got better at budgeting.
This is music to my ears if you guys want to do that, Jerry. I mean, that's just a matter of us producing a report once a month, right?
Yeah.
And then if you have those follow-up questions at that point, you
Yeah,
reach out to the
we'll deal with the elected officials then.
I love that. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then the insurance figure in the treasurer's office, we're cutting that request from 138 down to 116, with the understanding that if circumstances change and a change is needed, there, you know, the department head is coming back to the commissioners next year for that increased request. Is that how you guys would like to do it?
I would still like to see that department head get a little more in that budget than for him have to come back, or that department head have to come back to us to give them more money.
So historically, that's what we've done.
That's what we've been doing,
Provided
yeah.
a little bit of a cushion. We trimmed that cushion back last year for this year.
Right.
And so what I have here is based on how we did it last year. So it's just a matter of what approach you guys would like to take with it.
Yeah, keep in mind, one of the things that we've always done in the past, as Jeff mentioned, there's a little bit of cushion only to allow them, we tend to tell them to move money, don't come back to increase your budget, but move money around. Transfer from one account to the other.
Yeah.
That's where we always tell them to look first before they bring any action to you.
Right.
So that's why you tend to see a lot of those.
Maybe a good kind of middle way would be duty to adopt the approach you're talking about, but Jack, have those monthly reports so that you've got a constant tab on where they are, so that when something comes up, it's a matter of you guys proactively asking the department, hey, come and explain this, or come and have a conversation with us about your needs.
Yeah, you know, and I'm all for a compromise, because this isn't a Band-Aid where you just rip it off. I mean,
Right.
you don't need, we've been doing it this way all this time, and now we're gonna change everything.
Right.
That's unsettling, but
Right.
I think to gradually phase it in and move closer is a better approach.
Yep.
But they have, you know, the difference here is the change that is coming. We're gonna see changes out of Washington, we're gonna see money drying up, we're gonna see opportunities expanding. How do we juggle all that? And how do we finance that to where it's not just a fight? We have to determine those factors.
Yeah.
So having a more realistic hold on what we have available in terms of financing and just our budget and our capital accounts. We need to do things different.
Okay. So do you want to, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I got the sheet from the treasurer's office, and I'm not matching up with no numbers
That's because the sheets we got from the treasurer.
that came in November.
Are three different.
What do you have there?
I have November 13th when we came up here, and I have, here's group insurance, I got 130, 137, and 155. I'm not looking, I must be missing some numbers.
The insurance figure I have here is as of, well, I've already updated it,
Right.
but 138 is the most recent figure I had.
This is what he gave to us in November 13th.
Okay.
But I got expenditures from last year. Then I got probations for the current year is 137,000. But then he requested for next year, which is 2025, is 155.
Yeah, that's,
I don't know. Because I wanted to make sure that I was on the same page. Because that is 7014, right?
yes.
Yes, okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page because, so these right here, I got in my hands, not you good, really.
Well, so we can call them and ask them if you'd like to, or it's the commissioner's budget. You guys can adopt whatever you choose. But what's in there is the most recent data that I had.
Okay. So we're gonna take. So you took the healthcare insurance or the group insurance down to what now?
My recommendation was to take a 138 request down to 132. And that provides some cushion there. It cuts that cushion back, but still provides the opportunity for transfers based on historically how the office has been run, along the lines of what Jerry was talking about, to tell the departments, look for
But in
transfers.
reality, it was 116 something.
Well, this year, that spending in that line is 107, and that's that figure right here.
Okay,
106, 794,
Right.
38. Yeah. So with what Jack was talking about, if you take that figure plus 8%,
right.
that takes it to 116. What you're talking about would be to take it to 132, provide some space for transfers. It's just a matter of,
Yes,
yeah.
I I would rather do that. Yeah, we're giving them a good taste in their mouth,
Sure.
but we still need to give that cushion, still needs to be there.
And it keeps you guys,
If it's $15,000 cushion, that's pretty good.
I agree. And it keeps you guys in control. If they go over the appropriation, which could happen,
Right,
but there needs to be a good reason. And we all know Jeffers, he does a great job,
right.
but it keeps you guys in a position where if we're going to go over appropriations, it's got to be justifiable and you guys need to see it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because if we leave it at the 106.
Yeah.
If we just, for the 106, that's just putting him right at the edge that he's working at, and that's.
Right.
We don't want that right at the edge, just like trying to keep your checkbook at home, you don't want that checkbook right at the edge.
Right. Some margin's good, too much margin is bad.
Right.
Yep. You guys okay with 132?
Gives you about 15th, I'm good with it.
I'm good with that.
Jack, you okay? Okay, next we have the travel line. The request was for 2250. You look historically, he really hasn't come close to that. He spent just under 1,300 on travel in 23. 540 this year. I don't imagine that he would have a real need for increasing his travel line by nearly $2,000.
What number is that, Jeff? I can't see it from here.
That's this one right here, 2250 and 7,100.
13.
Okay.
Actual, yeah. That was the most he spent on travel.
Yeah, that was 1,300 in
Do we know
2023.
why he went up?
Yeah,
That's 2,500 in requests, and then I can't. So it was 2,850 was the highest he's asked for.
he asked for 2250. This year he
This year.
spent 540. Last year he spent 1,300.
And we gave him a budget of 2,250.
Yes.
That's what 2024 full year budget says.
2250 is his budget for this year, but he only spent 540.
So he's asked the same for next year, and he's only spent $541.
That's right.
But you want to cut that to $1,400.
Yeah, that was my
I don't have a problem
recommendation.
with
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Jack, you okay?
Unless he's got something specifically in mind.
That he
he's
wants
gonna
to do.
spend that for. And that's the kind of questions.
Well, again, there, he can come and make that request. Okay, next we have advertising and printing. The request is for 2,400. That's what the budget is for this year. This year he spent 1,800. Last year he spent 1,300. I proposed just a modest cut there. But if you want to cut it back to 2,000, I think that'd be justified.
I'd say 2,000.
Udi, you okay with that?
Yes.
And that's all I've got as far as the low-hanging fruit for the treasurer's office for today, unless you guys have other ideas.
What's that other cut that you have on the bottom? What number is that?
But the bottom was the total of what I proposed. We've actually gone beyond what I proposed. We've cut 500. 6,500. We've cut like 7,600 out of that budget. I was coming up here initially proposed 7,300.
Okay.
And actually what that does, in terms of total budget, this year, the treasurer's budget was 466,740. Next year, 465,975.
That's what, 465. 75.
And I just, I mean, I'm encouraged anytime we can look at a net reduction in spending in the face of higher costs. Jeffers does a really fantastic job of staying within his appropriations. We good? So we'll save that. We will move on to the prosecutor.
Yeah. I gotta do some.
Jerry, I've got to go to the navigation, right? Yes. So prosecutor's one that I don't know enough about to have strong immediate thoughts aside from the insurance line and some historic comparisons.
That's all I have to.
Well, so Jeff's budget went from 1.3 million in 23 to 1.6 million this year to propose 1.86 million next year. And the bulk of that, I think, as you see, has to do with proposed increases in salaries. I think that has to do with his caseload. Are we trying to bring?
We're trying to bring somebody in. I mean, he's trying to get,
We hired a couple of lawyers.
we hired a couple.
Okay.
It's gonna be in that probably.
I mean, I think his caseload and demand of requests from all the agencies for legal opinions makes this justifiable. I'm not sure how much opportunity there is here, really.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't touch much of it, because a lot of indigent defense
Yeah.
is now, that's being driven in Columbus.
Yeah.
So, and they're trying to help out with some of that financing too.
Okay.
So that's something we don't see yet because it hasn't been passed.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, so the idea I had was you look at that insurance figure. He's in insurance. He's
he's got 340.
proposing to go from 277 this year to 340 next year. We could-
Going with the 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity there to cut. If we want to take that down to 320 for an example.
Well, I got on the 18th when we looked at his, down to 297,557.
Is that his most recent request?
That's, that we,
We don't know on the 18th of November when he came in here to.
That'll cut 40,000 out. You want to
54, 43 is what that is.
give him what he asked for?
Yeah.
And what's that figure?
54, 443.
Well, no, for group insurance.
290.
From 352 down to 297,
297,
it's 54,443.
So what's the 297 figure?
297,557.
Okay. Next was supplies. Spending in 23 was 3,250. Spending this year is 3,175. Request was for 5,000. You could probably take that back to 4,000.
He's gonna be moving out of the LCMD building into this one, so he's gonna have an address change on everything that's gonna be.
Okay.
I think that stands.
Is that happening next year?
Yeah.
Well, it could be.
If he does, it's gonna be pretty close.
It should be towards the end of the year, but I don't think it'll happen next year,
Okay.
but that wouldn't include him moving.
So leave that
Some
alone.
of the stuff over
Yeah.
here, the magistrate, well, that'd be the judges, but the magistrates.
Okay, so we'll leave that alone.
We got several things in the mix here. We got the LCMD building, we got 15 more paint. We got some stuff in the folk block still. We're spread all over downtown.
Yeah.
We wanna, when we decide what we're gonna do about that LCMD building, decide whether we're just gonna tear it down, build a new parking garage for revenue or whatever that entails.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave that alone. And then equipment, I'm not sure what he's looking to do. He's not had any appropriations for equipment for at least the last 22, 23, 24, 3 years.
In the notes, what's he have down for that?
For next year, he asked for 30,000.
30,000. He's putting a new server in and a backup for the labor would be, that's what he's adding that. He's getting a new server and the labor and stuff like that, but that's why he requested the $30,000.
So leave that alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a specific project.
So that stays. And so with the cuts we've just made there, we've trimmed just under 60,000 out of that. And most of that was the insurance change.
For the other expenses,
Yeah.
you got $70,000 down for that and with 61.
Yeah, that's right here. 70,300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the cargo annual usage. fee.
Yeah, that's an annual use. That's why it's up that.
So leave that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else there?
The 1, 8, 17, or you already took all that off?
Yep.
1, 8, 17.
You guys good?
Sucks.
Next, we have the recorder. Well, so this is an interesting one.
Well, let me see if I can find it in this.
Has anyone spoken with Major? I imagine not.
No, I don't.
I haven't.
Or I had another one on here.
So Kathy's most recent insurance ask that I have was for 129,546. Is that what you've got?
She's got too much on it. Should be 114,864. She used like 17%,
Okay.
but she only gave her, in increases, we had 3% across the board, she gave 1.84%.
Okay.
So that's should be 219,132.
You want me to change that?
Yeah, we gave everybody.
219,138 for salaries?
Yep.
What for insurance?
114,864.
Okay.
And then the travel, contract services and other expenses. We got a new department coming in, it's gonna be some training budget. So I would say if you recommended any trimming of those things,
I had very slight cuts,
yeah,
but
it doesn't account to much, so
okay,
just leave that be for major.
leave them alone.
Yeah, you can, use that money to get some training for himself. That's all that I have there.
So we've cut about 16,000 out of the recorder. So the only other thought I had, we had the conversation about the recorder's equipment fund transfer last year. That does not have to be an automatic, and we kind of broke that dam last year. I might recommend taking that down to zero. And again, put you guys in a position where if there's a need, the department head comes and says, hey, here's what I got. You guys can kind of be in control of that on the front end.
She's got, 165,000 in that account. She's been at it 15 years since 2013.
That's right, yeah.
I'd like to see that intact with this budget, just to see what, if anything, Major wants to do with it. But have it there for him.
Well, so it's two different things. There's the annual transfer that's taken place historically, and then there's the cash on hand that's in the account now.
Right.
And we can get that.
But I haven't talked to Major to see what kind of automation idea he has for the department. Just with my wife in real estate, they need automation.
So that's 9701 account. No, 7901.
7901.
79.
Let's check the balance. I am surely screwing this up.
You may not need anything after. Go ahead.
Hey, how about that? Devices on. Gonna be a cash account of revenue.
Revenue. Well, we can check both, but just go ahead and put in, were you trying to check the recorder's equipment fund? I think it's Fund 238, so if you want to just go back up to VIP and put the cash account. Okay, that's fine. Put 238 there.
Yes.
So 68,000 roughly right now.
Yeah, she's got 68,000 in there now. Started the year at 73,000. And that's kind of what we talked about last year, the automatic $15,000 deposit from the general fund. I don't know that we need to do that because first of all, there's money in there. And second of all, if a need comes up, I don't think the commissioners are ever going to say no to a technology need. So personal opinion is that we don't need to do the automatic 15,000 built into every budget.
On the light of that, there's a new $5 per transaction fee that came through for the Ohio Recorder's Office on October 24th.
If she does, is she going ahead with it?
Yeah,
She
it
is.
says, and they don't need commissioner's authorization to do that, but that's specifically for funding digitize the recording process. The same thing that this is supposed to be.
Okay.
In my eyes, I don't know if there are two different things that they're looking at there, but from what I read of that document, the House bill.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So do we need that 15,000 in lieu of a $5 per transaction fee assessed to realtors and people that are looking into the records? That seems pretty steep to me, but by law, House of Senate Bill 94, she can do it. And she doesn't need our permission.
I think that's the case, but I think it's also the case that Major should promptly undo that.
Well, it's up to the court.
It is, you're right,
So they can do it or they cannot do it.
you're right.
I see that as a money grab of sorts.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially when she's got this going on at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes.
So which is,
I think that's a question for Major to answer.
So she's got 68, almost $70,000 in that account now.
That's right.
has she spent on that?
Just 5,000. Started the year at 73, spent down to 68 at this point. And the ask as part of next year's budget is to move 15,000 from the general fund into
Back to
that.
that account to give it another.
Did we move 15,000 this year?
No, this was the first year we didn't do that, and it was a conversation, but I don't see a need.
That's what you want to put it, it was a conversation.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Why don't we just stop everything until Major gets it figured out?
Leave it alone.
Let's take the $15,000 out.
I agree.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah, take the $15,000 out.
okay.
We got a change in leadership there, so we need to see what he's thinking.
Just, he's got $68,000 in that account now.
Accounts or expense accounts.
And no plans to spend it.
Yeah, that's the thing, there's no plans whatsoever. To upgrade anything.
Spend it.
Yeah, let's look
Right.
at the.
See, Mara,
If I do insurance, 112, okay, and then PDRS, I just want to make sure Analytics has the updated amounts, do them there, yeah. I think they do.
And then if maybe we've got a plan and we need to.
PDRS haven't been updated yet.
We can send that
We're
out
not
too,
really,
yeah.
haven't really been trimming on that, right? The 112 is the accurate figure because that's the one you've kind of been working off of. I just want to make sure that was a solid foundational piece. Yeah, so that PRS will hit today, actually. Okay. Is it good? Yeah, you're good there. I just want to be sure on that.
Okay, so after taking that out, we've trimmed about 30,000 out of the recorder's requests. Okay,
Okay, recorder is what's her grand total?
yeah,
Are we down to that yet?
yeah, total for the recorder, 633,216
633.
for the general fund.
216.
Keep in mind too on that, you see the 100-30-24 down below the transfer line we were just on speaking
Right.
about. That's all the ARPA funding. So,
That's.
well, yeah, and keep in mind, we had to have that committed by the end of this year, which we do. It's over in the general fund. So she will be, or Major will be allocating and apportioning money to finish that money out. That has to be spent down by 26. So
How much total's in play there?
I don't have that for you today. I would have to kind of figure that out.
We gotta be cognizant, that's not gonna be there next year. So it's gotta come, at that level of funding, it's gotta come from someplace else.
We just put in the 225, which was the final commitment to
Right.
her this year, the latter part of this year. And I don't think any of that includes that 225,000 in that appropriation you see there now.
Now, the employees that she's got working who are funded by the ARPA funds, those are not full-time, previously employed county
Right,
employees.
they're
Basically,
part-time.
once that's gone, they're gone. Not to be harsh, but that's the reality.
Well, but that's part of the change.
Right,
There's a whole lot gonna be coming at us.
sure, yeah, okay. Anything else there?
Okay,
I'm good there.
I must be missing something here. Because I got a revised thing in November the 6th. And she had, her grand total was $744,829. I don't know where she,
Well, let's go line by line. So in PERS, no, let's start with salaries officials. We've got 67,370.
okay, she got, next year requested 65 for the quarter salary.
Yeah.
She got 65 down here, 65,408.
Well, that's this year's.
But this is what she was requesting, I mean, the request for next year,
So she must have not increased that.
okay? Because this is when, we got this, I got that. I'll be okay. Throw that in the trash.
All right.
Well, I'm just gonna pull the up and
I'm looking.
do it from scratch here.
Okay,
So
I got it. 633, 216.
yes, sir.
Okay. 67,370.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good then. Had the wrong one in my hand. Who knows? Because she says
Who's
about
next?
4 or 5 of them up there.
Okay, navigation. Let's do Board of Elections.
Yeah, I mean, here's a preface on this. The copy that I got of this did not have any chart of account numbers. It didn't have any categories. It had error
Yeah,
on what got printed out.
yeah.
So while we were going over this, I was completely lost as to what the hell we were doing. So, and that just leads to a bigger issue, just a general statement is that everybody should be using the same freaking form. So we have some, some bottom line to this. And we're looking at a different department, but we're looking at the same category, we're looking at the same, chart of accounts. Not by department number, but by category number.
So I had an idea on that. If the auditor and the commissioner said, we are not going to enter your data and you're not going to get any appropriations unless you use the form we give you, that'll change that real quick.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do
I'm
that?
willing to do that.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
We can implement that
It's a
next year.
simple request.
I agree.
It's all singing the same sheet of music.
I agree.
That makes it a lot easier when we're going through this instead of handwritten reports and, I mean, with everything all out
Yeah,
of whack.
that's-
From mimeograph from 1953 that
And
happened.
we can do that next year. That's just a matter of us deciding what form we
See,
want to
that's the
do.
same, that's the same thing when we did the transfer from one place to another before. It was like 2 or 3 different forms that people filled out, and we didn't know. When I first got it,
Yeah, we've tried to standardize
they
that.
standardized that form, yeah.
And you're translating from Latin to English here when you put it in EID.
Yes, yeah. No, we can absolutely do that with next year's budget. Say, look, here's how it is. You're gonna use these forms, and if you don't,
Get over it.
okay. Sure. So on the group insurance figure for the Board of Elections, my recommendation here, the request was 130,554, was to cut that back to 122. This year's actual spending was 91,849, but I don't know what personnel changes they have factored into that.
Did they lose some folks this past year, Dave?
They're always bouncing, a lot of their staff, below director and deputy director is in and out. They've had a lot of turnover going back to even when I was on the board several years ago. But they're all the same.
They're all the same, it's gonna be, it's all gonna be the same.
Yeah.
The
The
only
only thing that
thing
changes in terms of month by month employment is when they'll hire seasonal or part-time employees to manage it. An actual election, and that's usually a month on either side.
guys, so we,
Did you get a staff breakdown?
well, I got director and deputy director, 1, 2, 3, 4 clerks. and 4 board members.
I didn't get that.
Second page.
I only got 2 pages.
I got a little
So
fun.
actually, I think there's probably,
This was November 18th.
we just need to
They,
adjust that.
I didn't get this ahead of time, they handed it out. and they showed up.
Some
That's where I got
should be charged.
Errors for the,
Or not charged, I'm sorry,
and
they
the
yeah,
caps.
some grant reimbursement.
Yeah, 'cause see, I had 137,
Put that in.
492,
That account,
which you
which
gave.
made that negative,
Yeah.
like it's
But
revenue, but we need to get that out of there.
They would.
I have to work on that.
Right.
Adjust that item.
Where the heck did you get that?
That's what I'm saying.
That's an error.
I couldn't make one for that. I was
Right.
frustrated.
Yeah, reimbursement starts.
So anyway, sorry about this.
Thing, so.
What do you have, Jeff?
So the insurance is 122?
That was my,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
is that what you'd like to go with?
I know.
So that figure, this year's appropriation is 129,800. Actual spending is 91,800.
Yes.
That's a-
We. Yeah, I don't even have a personnel breakdown page to weigh this against, so I don't know. I couldn't do much homework on this department because I got to add a piece of information.
Okay. Well, you guys okay with 122?
I am.
Yeah, I'm just not sure because this is what
You got a thing that says error.
I didn't even know what the heck I was looking at.
You got director and deputy director.
I got no personnel page breakdown. I just have that information, so I'm useless here.
And is that a 3% raise? Or is their pay set?
No, you set everyone but the director and deputy director. And board members.
But the deputy director and the director, they're set by the state?
I believe that they are. Double check that, but I'm pretty sure they're set by the state. You probably go above that if you want, just like any.
Figure maybe too much better. Well, I mean, yeah. It's,
So Jack.
the director and deputy director is making 70,000
There's some figures here line up with what you see there.
for this year.
But this.
And they're gonna go to 72? I mean,
Pretty sure the state sets the pay.
for the director and his,
Director, and deputy director, and board members. But it's the same type of graduated income table like what they do for county commissioners.
Right.
Population.
Let me know when you guys are.
oh, we're ready.
Okay. So if you look at the travel line, they requested 2,000. This year they spent 950. Last year they spent 812. 2022 they spent 1,600. So the most they've spent in the last 3 years on travel was 1,600. Ask was for 2,000. We think we're cutting back to 1,500.
Where did they have to travel to? Is that an election night driving around mileage?
Probably some of it's mileage, mostly it's probably conferences they have to attend in Columbus.
Yeah.
And there's probably the option to stay up there, but no one ever does.
So you go from 2,000 to 1,500, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I'm good.
Contract repairs, they asked for 3,000. This year they spent 600. Last year they spent nothing. 2022 they spent nothing. So I don't know that they would necessarily have a $3,000 need. Just depends on what you guys want to cut that back to. Most they've spent in the last 3 years on that is 600.
$1,000. I would take it down to 1,000. Unless they spend 600, I don't know what repairs they would be doing.
Yeah.
What are they repairing?
I imagine it's equipment, but I mean, I know that like for us, for example, if we have a contract for a copier downstairs, if a repair needs to take place, that's covered under the contract
Contract.
anyway. Yeah.
Is there any voting machines involved in this?
No, because state takes care of that.
Yeah, they've got a contract with their, like a long-term loan or lease on those voting machines, I believe.
I'm good with the grant too. We wouldn't knock that down to 1,000.
Not that number.
600.
I would have thought it was repairs, it's like office repairs, but.
See, that's the other thing, but there shouldn't be any office repairs that's going on.
We own the building, right?
Yeah,
Send Danny over there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he has.
So here, actually, David, you're probably best equipped to handle this of anybody here. So they asked for 76,537 next year for election worker compensation. This year they spent 62,000, and
it
year
was a
before,
general election,
that's what I'm saying. I don't see how you're going to spend
more.
20% more in a year that follows a presidential election. Do you know what that might be about?
I don't know what the basis of the increase would be, but I do know that it's probably not gonna cost them much less to run a county. Because next year, even though it's not as big of an election, it's still the same amount of work. You've got essentially potentially two countywide elections next year. You've got the city and you've got municipal court, plus whatever issues end up on the township. There will be an election in every precinct next year for at least the general.
So voter turnout doesn't necessarily have a correlation there?
No, I mean, they may have to hire people I don't think that they hire any more people for a presidential election than they do for a regular election.
That makes sense.
Well, the history there is
Not $76,000.
58,000 in 22, 51,600 in 23, 62 in 24, and the ask for next year is 76
Are you just reading their budgeted numbers or?
actual spending.
So that's the other piece of it, is they rarely get all of the election workers that they would like to have. So their actual spend is probably consistently below their budgeted request because they don't. And they should explain this, but they may be contemplating a raise for election workers, which they did do. Like the last year I was on the board of elections, we gave a bonus or some increase in the rate to try and attract more election workers. They get paid it's not very much.
Just, I don't know if she's given the election workers a 3% raise. That's why it went to 76.
David, what would your advice be as a former board member?
I mean, if I were in your shoes, I would ask them to either explain or, maybe modestly cut their projected budget, but, they do need more election day workers. I mean, that's a reoccurring issue every single year. I don't really know what they've done to address it.
How many times did they ask for an appropriation? Seems to me that happened quite a few times.
They did ask for quite a few times. There's a couple at least two anyway.
So we ought to pay, in my mind, we ought to pay a little more attention to actual expenditures than historic expenditures.
Right. So we do that.
You wanna leave this for now?
Yeah,
just
saying.
76,537?
That's what they asked for.
Okay.
Leave it? Okay, so we have cut about 9,000 out of board of elections. Next, we'll do clerk of courts.
Wait a minute here.
What's that?
1,000,000.
1,008,373. That's 1,008,373. Clerk of courts, the PERS ask was outsized compared to the salary figure, and I don't really know how to explain that. So if all you do is to trim that to correspond with what the salary figure ask was, you can take about 500 or 5,000, I'm sorry, out of that. I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't do that. Jerry, do you have any other? If you take that 337, 386 figure, and just apply the 14%. What'd you say?
If someone were double dipping on that, would it impact their documents?
No, because you still pay PERS after the retirement. We had that conversation in our own office. But if you go by just that 14% figure on the salary, you actually get 47,234. So I don't know why the ask was for 57,600.
But keep in mind, you have to go on the official salary figure too.
Oh, that's right.
PRS on both official salary and the employee salary.
That's right.
Plus, if you continue to pay after retirement, you got two separate.
Yeah, annuitized, yeah.
With Jordan.
Kind of sidetrack the conversation, but, there's still a piece floating out about Ty's early resignation.
I'm having Ty figure that out. I started to try and find out who to contact at the Democrat headquarters, and I'm saying, what am I doing this for? It's his department still until the 31st. You figure out the first and second.
Can we just ask him to stay until the 5th?
He didn't want to because it's gonna mess his
Yeah,
taxes.
but he's got to at least put Kelly in charge, or Kelsey, or okay Jordan to come in early through the Democrat Party, or have them.
But he can't.
Jordan came,
Yeah.
his leave from his current role doesn't start until the official date.
Can the commissioners not accept his resignation?
Too late now.
Well, yeah,
I just like, if, me putting something out there and saying, I'm gonna resign, and you say, no, I'm not gonna accept it, I'm gonna laugh at you.
I'm
Yeah.
leaving anyway.
Yeah, I'm leaving anyway.
Well.
And that's more, that's what he
He's still
yeah.
on.
But, I mean, it's just, to me, it would be his deputy clerk who's down there.
Kelsey Snyder.
Is Jeff looking into I sent Jeff the email, but I haven't spoken with him since. Is he looking into the legal aspect of this?
The last correspondence I had was email. So you or somebody else sent it. I haven't seen his response or opinion on it.
That's probably loaded on his totem pole with all the stuff he's got going on.
Yeah.
Prosecutor's office.
Well, so I stand corrected. Actually, Jerry made a good point. You factor in the salary for the official there, and that figure is close enough to where it should be, that we should leave it. So I'll take that out. Next is travel. The ask was for 1,900, but hasn't come close to that for several years. But Jack, to your point, if Jordan wants to attend conferences, maybe we leave that. Leave it.
That's because 500, not 1900.
Yeah, I'd say he's got 500.
What's in here now from the most recent we had was 1,900.
I got 1,900 for 2024, and I got 500 for
2025.
2025.
So they've already lowered that.
You want me to take it to 500 then?
Get the 5.
Okay, supplies. Ask was for 25,000. Hasn't really come close to that in the last 3 years. However, there is gonna be some new printing, I guess, needed, so maybe we leave that.
2,500.
25,000 for supplies. 7,150.
We're looking at 2 different things.
I was gonna say, I got supplies, 7,150, I got supplies, it's got 24,000, and I got 5,000 for 2025.
Yeah, see, this is one of the things, this is handwritten.
See, that's, he's got
If you've got handwritten, it may be,
7,000, 5,000
do you have
here.
the title department?
This is for the title.
Do you have the title department?
That's it,
Yeah.
That's
They're
the title
handwritten,
department.
they're the title department.
We're talking about the general fund.
So that would be the clerk of courts, actually.
Yeah.
Their
Well.
department.
That's the only one that I got from Todd.
I got it. Yeah, I don't have one. See, there,
2 minutes, this riveting conversation. I gotta run a little early.
Nuts and bolts.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
Okay. You don't have anything for the general fund?
I'm all organized over here, I don't have it.
Huh?
I don't have it.
That's what I said, that's the only one that I got from the clerk of court's office.
Kelsey Snyder's handwritten one, that's the only
Well, so with the expectation that they're gonna have some additional costs for a new elected official taking over, maybe we just leave that to provide for whatever printing they're gonna need.
What are you looking at?
The supplies line, you had 25,000 in supplies. This year, the spending is 14.5. Last year, it was 22.5. Year before was 10.6, but that's all the stuff that already had Ty's name on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we just leave the 25,000 there. Child support postage, ask was for 41,000. This year's spending is 30,000. Last year was 15,000. This year, 12.5, or I'm sorry, 2022, 12.5, and that's money that goes into the meter for their use. The ask was 41,000. I'd recommend just a slight trim to 37.5.
That postage go up.
Yeah. 73 cents a stamp now. And this is one we actually are not able to set. What we're trying to do is move as many of our payments to ACH as we're able, but these are payments to recipients.
Okay.
Really can't do that.
That sounds good.
Jack, you okay with that?
I'm good.
All right, so we've trimmed about 3,500 out of the clerk of courts. Next, we'll do auditor. As I mentioned, I've already put in there what I would recommend anyway.
Clerk of courts, what is their,
Total,
Yeah, so we got partial information. We have backup that was handed to Ty to do this budget fund. And he never did.
yeah. Judy, what you have there is for the title
what's the
department.
title department?
Yeah, so which is not general fund. This is general fund.
He was already retired when he did this.
Well,
I got a headache.
I saved that. I just want to show you guys what I'm proposing for the auditor's office.
I do have one of them, maybe.
Well, so what you have there is not what's on here because I've already made cuts. My budget this year started out at 832.9. I've already cut it back this year to 822.4. Proposing next year to cut it back further to 818.668. The only real big thing I have going on in my budget next year is that Heather's retiring at the beginning of the year, and so I'm going to have a payout there, but she's going to stay on after that. So I've already requested an appropriation to kind of absorb that. And then the rest of it is just trimming that we're always looking to do anyway. And I kind of update you guys on that throughout the year as I do it.
Did you replace, J-Love and,
Lucy.
Lucy?
We did not replace Jayla. We kind of spread out some of her responsibilities, so I've reduced headcount there. And I mean, that's how we're able to do this. And as far as Lucy, her replacement starts at the end of this month, so we will have a new Lucy.
Is that her replacement, is that doing her job, or is that a cycle?
No, that's doing her job. Lucy's job is one that you can't really distribute too much.
Okay.
So we've been managing, but I think we're all looking forward to having a Lucy back. It'll be Angela Park from the health district, and I think she'll be great. She was previously at the city, in the city auditor's office, so she knows the job and how to do it. But if you guys, can you see that all right? If you have any questions?
It's my first look at it, so I'll go to the BIN for VIP.
The other thing, I guess, to point out is that historically, the auditor's office has tracked the two employees who work in the manufactured home section separately from the budget team. But we're at a point now where the manufactured home section used to be funded in part by the personal property tax, which has gone away. And so it's just a different structure in that office from what it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And so one of the things that I'm proposing to do is to do away with tracking those employees separately from the rest, because it's all general fund money anyway. But it's all accounted for. And in the end, it is a net cut from where I am this year. So that's the reason you see zeros here. There's a corresponding increase above that offsets it.
Done a good job of keeping the expense under control.
We're trying, man, but thank you. You got
Like I said, we're at the sheriff's department towards the end there, but as soon as, when we get to that cutoff and we can determine who's got extra money laying around in what category, that's what I want to take a look at. Because that's gonna tell a certain story that will lead to future things.
So hold off on the sheriff until the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd make that the last one.
Yeah, we try to do that the last, but like I said, it's George does that, and then he screams again because, he asked for $14 million and we give him 11.
Yeah.
Well, if we give him 11, but he carried 3 over.
Yeah.
Here's your 14. So I don't know if he's gonna be carrying that much over this year as he did last
Yeah,
year.
he's asking for 16 this year.
Yeah,
We can look.
just take a look to see what he's.
So this year's budget currently is 15.7. Now we started out at 15.47. It's at 15.73. So it's about where it started the year. Actual spending year to date is 13.8. So whereas there used to be a $3 million carryover in the sheriff's budget, it's about 2. So it's still pretty substantial. It's not what it was, but we knew that because, you guys approved the pay rate increase.
That's the biggest part of that.
So that's to be expected, but he still does have a pretty sizable carryover. And I really think it's just a matter of one of you guys, or if all of you, if you want to do it in the public meeting, just sitting down with them and saying, hey, let's really dial in on this we can be part of that if you'd like for us to, or however you'd like to handle that.
Well, see, I talked to him about carrying out over before. And his thing is, well, I don't want to come back to the commissioners and ask for money come close to the end of the year. And I said, George, you transfer money from one place to another to back and forth, but you're still asking us, can you do it or not?
Yeah.
If you could, and we tell you every time that you can do it, there's no sense in you coming to us and asking us, can I transfer A to B and not get in trouble because of, I should have transferred to out C. And we said, yeah, go ahead and transfer it because, you know, if you can do it, and that's all. But he just tries to keep that cushion in there.
In the end,
Slush funds.
Yeah, I just said, it just, you know, it just,
You know, the way that I look at it is that, you know, I don't have your experience in law enforcement, but I do have experience in oversight management of law enforcement from the city police department. And there were so many things in there just as an efficiency manager of programs that were outdated, underutilized, ineffective, that needed to be sunsetted. And some new ways of proactive policing brought into play. We don't chase down problem areas where drugs are happening. We just don't. We did when I was in office as mayor. Second Street was closed off.
Right.
And we put police where trouble was.
Right.
On patrol and parked off the side of the road and whatnot, there's no presence there in the county or in the city. We need to get that back.
it's just tough because I think that he budgets for a full staff. Full staff on the road, full staff in each department he has.
Yeah.
In the jail, full staff. They're not full staff. That's why he budgeted that. They're probably,
Are they still not full staff?
I don't think there's full staff. There's no way
Listen,
they
when I
do.
talked to him, he's been full staff for months after we put that in.
I know a couple guys in the jail, that works in the jail, and they said that they're not full staff in the jail. I don't think he's full staff.
We need to ask him.
I remember when he was here for his budget hearing, we looked through the roster of who's on staff. And I mean, it's damn near filled up as far as the slots. I don't know if you'll ever have 100% truly full staffing because you're gonna have people switching jobs at any given time. But I think he's as close to 100% full staffed as he's ever been.
Yeah, when it was like a couple months after we gave the increase for the staff.
Yeah.
He came in here and said, I am fully staffed for the
Yeah.
first time since 2007.
Right. And I think that's still the case.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm just talking. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
I can tell you from.
Talking to the guys on the road and talking to the guys working in jail, they're not full staff. Why should you be, if you're full staff, why would you working overtime 3 days a week?
Well, that might be covered. I don't know.
I mean, nobody takes
We need to
vacation.
just
It's very
have-
seldom anybody takes vacation in a month.
Are you full staff?
So are you guys gonna have that
So, I
follow
mean,
up?
it's just, and that's where he budgeted his thing to everybody full staff.
Well, I know from our conversations with him, it's, you know, his biggest concern as it relates to the auditor's office is making sure he's doing things in a compliant way. And Jerry helps him with that, of course. But as far as making the appropriation decision, again, you guys
Right.
can do whatever you want. And so I think it's just a matter of saying, hey, let's really dial in on this.
Well, if he has a plan, I'm all for investment. If he's just got an idea or a way that he's gonna make sure he's got a little pile of money he can play with if he needs to, I got a little bit of a problem with that.
Well, that's totally within your right to dial that back. And I would support that.
That's why I think we need to talk to him about his budget and
Which, see, that's like when I worked in the sheriff's office, you know, their big thing, when I worked in the police department, worked in the sheriff's office, you know, their big thing that the sheriff's department was, it didn't make a difference who was George or who was before George or anything like that. Their big thing was the sheriff always turns money in at the end of the year. Well, the big thing is instead of sheriff turning that money in, let me give the sheriff deputies pay raises. Well, and they try to explain to him, he can't do that. It has to be approved by the commissioners for him to do that. I said, he can't do that. He just can't get, just because he has money carried over from one year to the next year.
Right.
He just can't give that. It's not his to give away.
That's right.
And they couldn't understand it.
That just came out in the news just last week.
Yeah.
But some sheriff was doing that.
No, you guys are the appropriators, and you can do whatever you want to do as far as that goes.
I think if we do the sheriff's thing, I'd like to have the sheriff up there when we do his budget.
Well, then do you want to schedule him to come and we can really, I mean, the sheriff's budget, I think, as you know, is more than half of the general fund.
Right, as I say, it's more than that for general fund.
So if we're looking for trimming, this is the place to
And,
go.
and he gets upset every time we trim something down.
That's okay.
But
But he's gotta understand that we just can't have this money out there where things can happen that gets out of his control, out of our control.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're on the news for misappropriation of funds. I don't want that. That's our responsibility.
Yeah, I ain't
To
gonna
make sure that
tell
doesn't happen. I take that pretty seriously, so
of course, yeah.
we need to,
See, and that's one of the things with George, he's, if he feels like that he can do it, but he's not sure, he'll come to us.
Yeah.
And say, hey, can I do this? And we tell him every time that he's come to us and we're saying, yeah, you can do that. You can do a switch from one place to another, do a trade from one place to another. He's,
and I'll never tell him that he's wasting our time with that kind of request.
Yeah, and that's the
I'd
thing.
rather have him do that than
Yeah,
go off and do something
yeah.
else.
Well, so I think that's just a matter of communication, and it can probably start with a good conversation in a meeting. And so maybe we make that part of the next session next Monday. But as it stands right now, he's probably looking at a 1.6, 1.7, maybe even $1.8 million carryover.
Right.
CLE.
So it's gonna be less than what we had last year. Last year was almost 3 million.
And do we renegotiate the contract next year?
Yes.
I think that's the case.
And then the engineers next year.
Well, so that'll be another thing to ask him about. That won't affect this year's or this budget, but it definitely will next year.
And I want to say, if we stay that contract out 2 years for the sheriff's department, when we renegotiate the contract.
Yeah, it's 1
I
year.
think we put a limit on the next amount in the negotiation, but I think that I'm not sure. I'm not gonna say, so.
Let's just have a conversation with him. Start there.
Because talking to some of the other commissioners of the CTAO, that's what they did. They negotiated a raise, and this is counties around here, after we raised our raise, they were just trying to keep up. And then the next thing, you know, the very next time it was to negotiate later on that year, they arbitrated.
Right. Well, that's the same thing with Fayette County.
That's who it was, yeah.
So as it stands right now, we've cut around 100,000 out of the treasurer, prosecutor, recorder, board of elections, and clerk of courts requests. We're holding off on the sheriff to bring George in on that conversation. Can we talk about what projects you guys know that you're wanting to do for next year so we can start thinking about how to set up accounts if they're needed?
I think we need to have some work session discussion on that.
Okay,
Because we don't have a clear viewpoint of what that looks like.
okay.
I know in my head, and we don't.
We know at least the sewer project.
Yeah,
Before sewer
that's,
project.
we've already got all.
We already
those
got that off
accounts set up.
the thing. And also the courthouse. We know that we will look into that courthouse. After that,
Well, the jail,
the jails,
steel walls.
The ones on the jail. improvement out to the airport.
That's already underway.
Okay.
So
You mentioned LC&B, is that,
we have to at least get an idea of what that's gonna look like. We have to get some parameters of project design. And that's gonna cost some money. I know that's to come out of that, so.
Because that's one of the things, do we want to keep that building or do we want to tear the building down?
And if we tear it down, I think we have a great opportunity to add a parking garage.
Because right now we have both sides of that building. You know, where the drive-through is, also where the parking lot is, plus the parking lot in the back.
Okay.
We can use to put a parking garage in.
Yeah, we could still have, that drive-through in existence for treasurer and auditor.
Okay.
So a pass-through going out the back of the building, but then we have 3 stories of parking above it.
So for budgeting purposes, we really don't have any need to consider LCNB at this point.
No.
Okay,
Well, not for project facilitation, but for project planning. That's gonna happen in 2025.
okay.
Some
In
design
25.
teams and things like that. 100,000, 200,000 in there as a dart throw estimate for that project cost design.
Let's talk about that at a future meeting. What about the ORCA, Appalachian or Ohio Regional Council, Recreational Council, was it?
Yeah, that for the bike
Trails.
trail,
That's a no?
for the bike trail.
Yes.
I'm just,
That would not be a capital expenditure.
Okay. But is it?
and I'm really not that much of a fan. Yes, I like to do that, but I mean, we have Athens
Uh-huh.
is the only people that pays into it now.
Okay.
But there's more members or more people that nobody pays into it, only Athens, but they want us to pay $180,000.
Well, so maybe that's a question to have with Ty again, if you have additional questions on that.
Well, that's,
And I think
that's one of the questions I asked him when he came up here and asked.
I think the more players we have in on this, the bigger the regional draw is to this, the more interest I have in it.
Because right now, there's no, I mean, it's
And I don't-
Athens and Ross County.
Right, I
Well, so
don't
that's-
mind being one of the first ones in the door.
That's the thing, it's your call, of course, you're gonna make the appropriation or not, but the idea was that Athens is doing it, Ross County would be the next. So the
And then
question is, do we
somebody
wanna
else,
be on
yeah.
the front end, or do we
I've
wanna
been
wait?
talking to Jackson, I've been talking to Ben,
Okay,
I've been talking to Hawk.
well then Ty asked me the other day if I'd spoken with you guys, I told him no, but I told him I'd bring it up. I'll encourage him to reach out to you guys and have that conversation.
I said, he needs to, I mean, that's just,
This needs to be destination based, not event based, you know what I mean?
Sure.
If
Yeah.
some people go and they take a tour of several counties that offer these same things and different events that coordinate with each other.
Right.
And it's sort of like an event, vacation instead of an overnight stay.
Okay,
We have more ROI to that. Because they're staying longer and they're using our facilities and our restaurants and our hotels longer. So there is a bigger ROI to that.
well then I will encourage Ty to reach out to you
you know,
guys.
it's one of these things where, you know,
He gets that. He
do I wanna,
understands.
you know, how am I gonna explain to somebody I spent $190,000 on a bike trip?
Oh, I understand, no, so here's the
I
thing,
mean,
and
that's, you know,
I think that's feasible.
but it's not really a bike trail, it's just joining these people.
Right.
It has nothing to do with a bike trail, it's just
Well-
joining up.
So like I said, I'm not the spokesman, but the idea was that we joined this council, they would fund the field study once we became a member, and then Ty would become kind of a director on their payroll of developing recreational opportunities inside Ross County on behalf of Orca.
But if I'm paying them $190,000
Yeah,
and they're gonna pay for the study, they're not paying for the study, I am, because there's only 2 of us that's paying. Ross County and Athens.
But they coordinate the events going forward.
Yeah.
That,
no, I think you're right. I think that's a totally fair thing, but that's a conversation I should back out of and should be had directly with you guys.
so that, you know, to me, that's where our ROI potential is.
Right.
Okay, on that $180,000.
Yeah.
So let's take the full story into account and pick it apart for, is this worth our money or not? That's what we need to look at.
And I think that was it. Is there anything else that we left out as far as opportunities?
I would like, maybe this isn't the place to bring it up, but you know, when we talk about these kind of things, I think we need a sounding board to weigh it against. And that at least makes the conversation worthy of carrying forward or not. You know, and I define that as our defining principles, our guiding principles. What do we value a decision against? And I go back to, will it make the boat go faster? The 2000 Sydney, Australia Olympic rowing team from Great Britain. Do you guys hear that story at all? Read that? Great Britain hadn't won a gold medal in rowing since 1929. They hadn't even placed as a medal 4 years. And the 8-man team, 4-man team, 2-man team. So they got together, one of the guys on the rowing team, just a guy on the team, not a coach, not a captain, but just a guy, said, when we train, when we make every decision that we make, trying to get to the gold medal, what are we gonna ask ourselves? And he decided, we'll ask if we'll just make the boat go faster. So whether you're eating a cheeseburger or a salad, whether you're deciding to work out or go party, that's the baseline that they laid against that question. And that was the way that they not only won the gold medal in 2000 on the 8-man team, but the 4-man team and the 2-man team. They swept just with that guiding principle. So as a county, I think we need guiding principles to help guide our decisions. And what I talked to David Glass about this because he's familiar with that, working with Brian Scrivener, and I'm familiar with that with what I've done. So, we came up with 5 guiding principles of what we were going to ask ourselves if we would invest in a bike trail, if we would invest in a housing department. And the very first one is, do we want Ross County to grow? Will this help make Ross County grow? Yeah, either by population, by employer base, by citizen base, financially. There's a lot of tails to the tape that we can lay that up against in terms of growth. But I think that's important to ask. Will this help us grow in any one of those areas? Second one, is it in the best interest of the majority of citizens of Ross County? So it's a democracy, it's how elections are won, majority kind of rules. And we can't look for a clean slate of everybody in agreement because that never happens. Haters gonna hate. Sure, it just doesn't make any sense to think of it. So will this be accepted or embraced by the majority of Ross County citizens? Yeah, that's also another question we need to ask ourselves. And with these decisions, is there a way to build sustainability into that? Like if it comes with a grant, how are we going to be able to pay for it after the grant's gone? If this is done on a philanthropic kind of exercise, once that giving is over with, how are we going to sustain this idea so it doesn't fall off the table? Yeah, I think that's important to ask too. Because if you approach Columbus for money and you have a sustainability plan to it, you've got their. Also, regionally, if we think regionally, that helps out a part of the state instead of just a single county. Look at our Appalachian rate. That was 12 counties. That's 30 total projects. And the only reason we got 154 million out of 500 million on a single application was because we took a regional approach. Right. And I'll tell you what, there's more resistance to that by people in the county. They want to take care of themselves, they want to take care of their own, but they don't see the potential of thinking regionally and having a lot more come to the table if you think regionally than just think county. That's why Pike County didn't get any Appalachian work, because that was just Pike County initiatives. One in Ohio, if you don't think regionally, you don't get any opiate settlement. Yeah, that's a main vetting tool, and Columbus uses that a lot. So having the sustainability built in is important. Number 4 is be bold, but be sure. We want to do things that are maybe outside the box a little bit, our future looking, our vision looking, but we want to make sure we know what we're talking about. We want to be sure with that ROI in numbers, in front of us, weigh that out, and look at alternatives the same way. So I think we need to be bold but sure. and then prove the initiatives with goals and metrics. That's just a basic building block of having goals and objectives. Because you have to prove that it's gonna do what you say it's gonna do, and you need to show us the numbers that prove that. And that's this budget stuff, right? That's the George stuff. You know, George, prove the point, show us how are you gonna grade yourself and prove to yourself that it's working, and also prove to us that you're. So that's 5 of the guiding principles that David and I just came up with, kind of talking, and I know you groove on that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, because it proves the point. Because you're the perfect check and balance guy. I mean, David and I are kind of optimistic and everything. You're the cop back there saying, what do you think?
And I will, as I said, I'll take a look at things, and that's like, you know, we know, that's like going to Fayette County. Fayette County's got that battery plant going in. I mean, they're building up. There's not a thing happening in western part of Ross County.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I can drive from my house to Washington Courthouse. And it's less traffic, less anything. If I go out here to Walmart, here in Chillicothe.
Yeah.
I gotta fight Bridge Street traffic. I can go to Walmart, Washington Courthouse, and get right off 35, and I'm there.
Mhm.
You know, I'm there in 12 minutes. It takes me 10 minutes to go here, but I'm 15 minutes in traffic.
Well,
And there's nothing happening in Western Barber County.
that's,
And that's what, to me, would be bells ringing in my head.
that's our strength right there. And
Frankfurt just got in, they're redoing their sewer plant. So it could take more, if they're gonna be in the same boat as the city and the same boat as the prison, if they don't take more waste, it's just gonna sit there and stagnate.
Well, we need to spread the wealth across the county for sure. And that's what I'm telling that, you know, Tammy, we don't need to be looking at the mega sites. We don't need to be looking at the automotive manufacturer of this. We need to become a supply chain capital of Central Ohio and have the machine shops, the trucking companies, the powder coaters, the things that service these big Honda plants and the Intel plant. That's why Trillium in Piketon is so important. And we're about ready to lose that to Purdue, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Because they're incentivizing it. When I was at CCAO, all the commissioners of the contiguous counties to Pike we're getting together, we're going to the state of Ohio and say, look, you've got to pay attention to this plant down in Piketon that's going to be producing hydrogen energy. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the Green Deal, but that's part of energy independence as well. It fits both the molds. And the byproducts from that process are silicon and ammonia. So we have raw material to feed the Intel plant with a byproduct of a hydrogen manufacturing process, and then ammonia for fertilizer. We have raw materials that they are producing that's also an ROI, a sales point to their strategy. I mean, it's ingenious. There's no way we can let that go to Kentucky.
Yeah. It's the same thing, it's you know, we're putting that sewer line down 104. But there's one other thing we need out there. That's gasoline.
Mhm.
And, you know, talking to Columbia Gas is you might as well just go and run into a wall. The other thing is when you have a plant that comes in or have somebody that wants to come in, when they get here and they build it, we'll put a line in. Well, then you get the company that says, we'll come here, but we need a gas line.
So there's gas.
Yeah, which one comes first, chicken or the egg? That's what the problem.
Okay.
You know, I've been on a couple of phone calls with farther west gas to see if they'll come into Ross County. They're trying to figure out if they're going to step on Columbia Gas's toes or not. I don't care if you step on our toes or not.
You know, the thing is, the chicken and the egg question is flipped. Because typically, the building aid comes meant the manufacturing plants. We've got more jobs than we have people.
Right.
So it is completely flipped. We don't have enough housing for all the people. That's why this DT ordinance is so important. And I'm not saying it goes through as they're presented without modification.
Right.
But we just can't kick under the door.
And yeah,
I know you get one. So, you know, what we have sitting ahead of us is just a blessing, really.
it's the same thing you talked before earlier. The southern part of the county, or that corridor down Eastern Avenue, it's right for the Dickens. That corridor, you got tracks, you got railroad through there, you got 2 major highways going through there. Well, you've only got 3 highways through there. You got 23, you got 35, you got Route 50, you got the railroad. I mean, what else would you need down there?
Well, I told Tammy, I said, what you need to be looking for there is a highly automated Amazon warehouse. 1 million square feet. I'm down there on that property. That would not rate the workforce, but would add income to the area and notoriety toward logistic capabilities.
Lots of opportunities.
There sure is.
Well, so, okay, let's kind of recap here. So we're good on treasurer, prosecutor, recorder, board of elections, clerk of courts, and the auditor in the general fund. Sheriff, you guys will get with George to discuss specifics.
Right.
Jerry and I can be part of that if you want to, or if not, whatever you want to do. The next one is the judges as well, because they've got a pretty sizable general fund footprint too. You guys want to call?
The black coats, I'll tell you, I have not gone through their budget.
Okay.
So I'll do that before the next session.
Okay.
But, yeah, they're different. This is common.
Right.
Conversation among county commissioners.
For sure. Yeah.
CCA.
Because they have the ability to,
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much get what they ask for.
I get it, yeah.
So, you know, I'm interested to see what you've identified that could be done. Have you done that?
Not in those. I mean, for the
Okay.
sheriff, I really just did the insurance and some miscellaneous stuff,
Did you
but
do, so the court's up there, of course, but the courts, did you go through them?
I could do that for Monday. But what I'm saying is we really shouldn't go forward with anything unless they understand what we're doing and why.
Yeah, you know, the one that we can do the least with and the one that we can do the most with, we say the least.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, the judges be quick,
Okay.
but everything else that's on the table, I think we need to take a look at. Now, you having the ones that we just contribute to, like the senior citizens and the Veterans Affairs, and, because we do money out there at
Right.
Yeah.
JFS, JDC,
So, yeah, but
that's
that's,
part of this.
I mean, it can be, but that's a matter of what we collect and then we distribute to them. There's not a lot for us to do with their budgets because they're outside, you know? They have their own funding sources.
Get water and soil.
The only real opportunity we have as far as influencing those budgets is what you, the commissioners, decide to give them from the general fund within your own budget. So maybe next week we do the commissioner's budget. And
We need to do capital fund as a separate item as well.
Okay.
Because that's new.
Okay.
We don't have that.
Well, by the end of the week then, I'll get you guys another kind of proposal for what we do Monday and we'll see what you think about it.
And then we need to know what the spread is between our balanced budget.
Right.
Where are we expense to income and what do we need to make up either through the general fund or cuts.
Right.
That's the options.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I'll get something to you by the end of the week.
Appreciate your help there, Judge.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Never fail.
Are you adjourned then?
Got anything else?
I don't know anything. Kathy, you got anything else? Brad, you got anything? See you guys.
No. I'll leave this to you guys.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Did you get everything that you needed?
I got nothing.
You did, y'all.
More than-
I just, did you were wanting to talk to us about
Yeah,
the year-end wrap-up or something?
But it kind of has to do with the budget, so like if the budget isn't finalized yet, I don't want it.
Okay.
Cause it's kind of a mix of like, here's what the budget is, and just breaking it down, like here's how much the sheriff is getting, here's how much this, and then also just plans for next year, like new cruisers, anything the city's working on. So we can wait till that's all finalized.
I think that, having, you wanna shut us down, Jeff?
Well, Jerry's coming back up. You got one more thing to take care of, I guess Kathy just told me.
Oh,
You know, Kathy mentioned in an email last week the possibility of not having that December 30th meeting. I think you're gonna need to have it. I don't even think.
Hey, we can go home, you guys go to
last year. So I think we're gonna need to have that one post-Christmas meeting. just to wrap it up.
So like, what's the latest that you guys have to have the budget finalized?
December 31st?
Yeah,
Okay,
and we're just talking about December 30th meeting, so.
Yeah.
there's gonna be one meeting after Christmas to finalize kind of all of this.
okay. Do you think you're able to send me that, whenever they get it, of just like each budget,
Sure.
they just their overall, like I don't need all the nitty-gritty details, just like the overall budget for each
Yeah.
one, and then I can just meet with you guys.
Mondays between now and then is when we'll be making progress toward it.
Yeah,
Have it probably passed on, so.
okay, I just don't wanna like put in numbers and you guys got something and.
Right.
So I'll just wait till it's all final.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, cool, I will get you guys after that then.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Did you say Jerry's coming up?
Yeah, he was coming right back up.
You gonna go to the playoff game, Kathy?
I'm probably not going to the game, but I'm sure we'll be up there. So, I haven't tailgated with Brad at all yet.
Hey, Brad.
So, he'll be up there. He's got-
I was saying, yeah. Said you get $100. Since the CT, the students can get the ticket for $100.
He said his were $275 each.
I thought you said the students can get theirs for $100. Tickets to the playoff.
What's that?
Students can get theirs tickets for $100.
Yeah, they probably can. I'm $275.
So wait for see.
You know, you already give.
I was gonna say, you already-
Almost $4,000 or whatever it was for the year tickets.
Yeah,
It's the
that's,
first time there's ever been a playoff there, so
yeah.
figured we'd go. We don't know if we got the parking space yet or not. Said the NCAA will, may want to have that too, so they can sell parking spaces close to the stadium too. Cause see, it won't be the school getting the money.
No,
It's a NCAA championship game, so it'll be them getting the money.
did they divide that money between each school?
They must, probably, I would think.
Does it go, is it a 50-50 shot?
I don't know. Alabama's crying, they're saying they're not gonna play any more than 12 games, you know,
Why?
because they didn't get in.
Oh, that's the team who was out. The move, what's the name from 16 to?
Well, then you got Notre Dame, you know, how do they get in?
Yeah.
They're in no league, so
No
they just
conference,
don't
no
get it,
nothing, yeah.
and it's all about the money with them.
But hell, they're making all kind of money. Notre Dame making all kind of money anyway because they got that TV contract with NBC. I'd like to go to Detroit and watch who you play.
Yeah, they must have that every
I'd
game.
like to go there because you can say, it wouldn't make a difference if it was minus 30 outside because it'd be nice to say.
Inside, yeah.
John Rose from Unioto asked me about the TIF for Union Township. Have you guys made any decisions or anything on that? I just told him that there was a meeting and the last I was aware, you were talking about the traffic study. Is that the latest?
That was their last one.
Yeah, that, we haven't We didn't start anything in motion on that.
No.
I still want to get some information from ODOT and DR ordinance, ordinance to participate in the cost of that.
Yes. Okay. That's the only thing we talked about.
You know, I just can't see 164 homes going up out there. That's gonna get modified, if it happens at all. And that's thoroughly gonna depend on that traffic study.
Yeah.
If it's gonna make it worse in the slice, adding however many X number of homes out there on Pleasant Road, it's not gonna fly. But we could use the traffic study to alleviate the problem that exists with the current level of homes. Yeah, substantially. And that's a win.
I'm just hoping that if they do that traffic study, it's not just right there, Pleasant Valley Road and Veterans Parkway and Clinton Road. It's at the traffic light down by, the school.
Yeah.
And it's
2 roundabouts is what we're gonna be looking
in Veterans Parkway.
Yeah.
Veterans Parkway is gonna be taken, Route 50 and Veterans Parkway is gonna be taken care of because it's gonna be around the state.
Right.
There's not already a roundabout in there.
Going in there.
So that's gonna be, but the rest of it, you could take care of that intersection at Clinton Road and Pleasant Valley and Parkway. But if you don't take care of the other one that's half a mile down the road,
Yeah,
you're spinning your wheels.
Pleasant Valley Road needs to be widened.
We're Sandusky, I call it Sandusky Boulevard, and Easy Pike, and
Egypt Pike and Sandusky come in there.
if you don't do something there, too, with that,
Yeah,
same thing.
that whole area needs to be widened. And when you get up towards Clinton Road, that's gonna infringe on some of the lot space. That's gonna come at the expense of some homes out of that 164. That's the only